All right. Hello, Linda Langdon. Welcome. Welcome.
Linda. Hey there, Linda.
Yes, ma'am. It's good to have you here with us.
She wasn't talking about praying without ceasing, right?
Yeah, Linda asked that question
Mhm.
Tuesday.
Let me answer that. Miss Linda,
Uh,
wait a minute. Miss Linda, praying without ceasing in our day, the brick and mortar was like this. If they had a special thing, a move of God in the brick and mortar in the denominational church, they would have the whole church or anybody would be put on a vigil of praying night and day for so many days or weeks. And what they would do, Miss Linda, is have shifts come in, and they would pray to a certain time, then another shift come in, and those that had lunch breaks on their job, they would also come in and pray over a certain thing. In the church world, we call that praying without ceasing. I just thought I'd just tell you that before we got
Yeah,
started.
he couldn't wait to tell you until
Yeah.
after we said hello. Hey guys. Hey Sandra. Hey, how you doing? And I'm glad you're here, Pastor Norman.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so I was just asking Pastor Norman what he taught. He's been teaching the last couple of times because we don't get to see him a whole lot now since he's changed his times. So
Mhm.
what did you teach on Sunday?
From the topic, releasing love in the air.
Oh, good. And
Yeah,
then last night you had another one, right?
yeah. Well, it was a continuation of Sunday because, of course, until I figure out the actual virtual time that I would do on Sunday, that time slot of my virtual audience that I used to have on Sunday mornings, I kind of lost them. So what I did on last night,
Mhm.
I just kind of gave them a summation of what I talked about on Sunday, um,
Yeah.
and then it kind of led into something even greater. And so I'll be on that topic for a little
Can you
while.
pull it for me? Pull that off for me. It's a little warm in this little bitty room.
Mhm.
Man, it's warm in this little bitty room.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're glad to have you guys with us, and I'm looking forward to another good conversation. I was just talking to him a little bit about Carlton Pearson's motorcade and the most expensive cars I think I've ever seen in a funeral.
Oh, it was several, maybe 8 or 9 of them, Lamborghinis. Then there was a long line of
Rolls
Rolls.
Royces and all other kinds of.
Then there was the other sport cars that was really $300,000-$400,000 cars.
Mhm.
It was impacted with even the hearse itself was a Cadillac, it's expensive model,
Most expensive model.
and it was lined up. I mean, I've never seen anything like, unless that was fake. I never seen anything like that.
No. And it was, and the only reason I mention it is because he, in his transition, he had specifics as to how he wanted it to be, and that all of that was not a part of it. But
His wife renewed their marriage vows with him in his last moments. They remarried again right at his death.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
she
Now all the
has a
children, everything.
she has
Uh,
a she has an interview with a pastor that she's friends
I
with,
know it.
that she's been
You go on YouTube, you'll see it.
in commit in connected with, and so he did an interview with her. She said that what caused her and Carlton not to
Yeah,
stay together, and she said they always loved each other, but she
yeah,
said what caused her to get them to divorce
yeah.
was the fact that he was married to the ministry
And love the
and not
church.
and married to the ministry and
Hmm.
the church, and she felt like he loved that more than he loved her,
Yeah,
and so
Mhm.
that's what. And he, for a long time, he put that first.
yeah.
And so she said when she came back during his transition period while he was in hospice, she was there with him to help take care of him.
Sure did.
And she said that she looked at a picture that they had taken with him and her and the kids when they were smaller. And she said she could see so much love in that picture till she said, I'm going to remarry this man. And so she went out to Walmart and bought some rings.
Yes, you did.
Wow.
Rushed back and went and put on a dress. She said it ended up being a black dress. because she didn't have anything else to put on at the time. So it ended up being a black dress. And she went in there where he was, and she took the picture with her and she showed it to him. And she said she noticed when he was watching her, when she come in and out of the room, he would look at her out of the corner of his eye. She said she could tell he was flirting with her. So, so she said when she went back in there, she put that ring on. Hers was just a little rubber ring,
like a toy.
Quarter of it's like a lime green rubber ring. She put that on, and then she put one on his hand, and they held hands, and they remarried before he crossed over.
And that's something.
That's
Isn't that something?
and it's funny because that I've been talking about releasing love in the air. And
Yeah.
so,
She
yeah.
said she could feel the love, and she said, I'm gonna go and remarry this man. She said they've never stopped loving each other. It was just the way it was. So that's really something. Love sometimes, and I've said this, sometimes love itself is not enough to keep people together. Love itself is not enough to ward off things that will separate people. But if a person can find their way back to love, love will bring them back together.
And it's funny because I used the word on last night, a deeper meaning of the word empathy, as I was sharing through scriptures concerning love and that journey and how we have the power to choose. And so when you look up the word empathy, it talks about having the power to understand and at the same time to imaginatively put yourself in another person's shoes or emotions. In essence, you enter into their emotions, and so you'll get a clearer understanding. And that is something that has become a rare practice today, where we try to understand one another or try to imagine what this person, really is all about, or what they're dealing with, or what they're being faced with, or the choices that they're making. We make these judgments about one another.
Yeah. I know of late we've had to really, really practice being kind to one another. The two of us. We've always been together a lot. So now we're still together a lot, but for whatever reason now, I guess with all of the things that we're going through, it's heightened our emotions. So it makes us more and more.
Why don't you just say we aggravate each other?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It makes, I have to say it your way. See what I mean?
You're just taking so long to try to be nice.
See what I mean? I'm saying it the way I say it.
No, we'll say it the way you want to say it, baby.
Yeah. That's what we've been dealing with.
It's gonna come out be the same thing, but let us see
that. But sometimes when life is really pressured, that's when people really their emotions are on edge, and they tend to do and say things that they would not have said before. And so we've had to really practice this week. As you can see, this is what we've done. And so it's like, it's not really arguments, but it's just constant tips. And so love doesn't cover that up.
Exactly. So based off of what you just said, and again, I mean, we've been on the theme living in the atmosphere of change. So each one of y'all, of course, y'all been married how many years now? 50 what?
54.
54
going
years.
In 55.
Yeah, 54.
In the midst of and I love what you said, that normally when you see one of y'all, you see both of y'all. Y'all was always together, together.
I say we were Siamese twins in another life.
Now that's a funny picture. I just imagined.
Don't look at me that tone of voice.
So in some cases, not all cases, it is safe to say that each one of y'all have gone through changes together on a journey, and y'all individual changes as well. So for some, that will become a major challenge. And oftentimes it could become very detrimental to the point that there is separation, there is divorce. All right.
Mhm, mhm.
The way you feel about one another could shift or whatever. But in your case, um, you guys obviously came to a place of awareness on knowing how to the changes that y'all deal with together and the individual change. So kind of inform and enlighten us on that as far as how were y'all able to navigate through one another changes in life.
Well, I want to back up to where, let's see, how do I want to put it? It's almost like we did evolve at the same rate. Uh, Neither one of us got ahead of the other. It's like we've both had the same focus, and so even though we have all of these tips and riffs when we talking, it's all about language and meta messages. Uh, what one of us thinks the other is saying because of the way it was interpreted or the way that tone of voice was or those kinds of things. And so what we've had to do because of the awareness that we have of who we truly are, they only last for a second and then they dissipate. It's like they start and then they'll dissipate. We'll get back to whatever even keel that we've been on. Uh, and the love between us is strong enough that we don't want to stay in the mode of anger. We don't want to stay in the mode of I don't want to be around you. We don't want to stay in that mode very long. And so it forces us to go back to love, back to communicating. More than love, back to communicating. Why are you
Now,
looking at me like that?
now that is key. that is key for me, especially dealing with the new series that I started releasing, Love in the Air, and that came about two ways. Um, I've been watching, examining, and assessing all that's going on during the holiday seasons. We
Oh,
have certain expectations every
mhm.
time this
Mhm.
year. All right.
Yes.
Seems like in spite of all their challenges, all that's going on around the world, there is a level of enthusiasm, a level of excitement, a
Mhm.
level of joy. And we oftentimes, whatever differences we have had with one another during this time of the year, we've been able to put those aside for the moment of celebrating this particular year. And so as I begin to think about the spirit of that we all embrace during this time of the year, that is something that I said we should be doing every day
Every day. Mhm.
of the year, not
Mhm.
just during a holiday
Mhm.
season, but every
Mhm.
day. And so that's where you made a statement there, in spite of what y'all been going through or whatever y'all been dealing with, and then the changes in y'all lives, your love was strong enough to keep y'all to the place where y'all were able to navigate and go through it,
To
which
communicate. To
right,
communicate.
communicate.
Mhm.
But tell us, love is more than just an emotional feeling.
Yes, definitely.
And that's
Definitely.
where a lot of people got to come to the realization, because we have the power, the ability to love based off of a
Mhm.
choice. It's
Yes.
not based off of how I feel at that moment. I become like what God, the word describes God. God is love.
Yes. And one of the things that I'm glad you said that love love is the desire to be one and not two. It's the desire to remove the separation or the gap. And
Mhm.
so it's not a ooey gooey feeling, but
Exactly.
it's I don't want to be apart. That's the feeling. I don't want to be apart. I don't
Mhm.
want to be separate from. I don't want to be in one room and you in the other. I
Mhm.
don't want to be in the same room and feel like there's a wall. That the love wants to remove that. So it's
Mhm.
not a ooey gooey feeling, but it takes real honesty to let go of that, because anger has a juice in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a juice in it when you feel like you're right and you want the other to know I'm right. And we'll hold on to that. And it's like, I want to be able to speak my piece and give them a piece of my mind. I want to do that because there's a certain level of satisfaction in that. And that can overpower the desire to be together. And so, and you said something else about this time of year, there's a lot of joy and people will behave differently because of this time of year. But I've also noticed, and I say this in all honesty, this particular, I've loved Christmas all my life. My dad, of course, they played the Santa Claus thing all the way up till I was almost a teenager. Christmas was a big deal in our family, decorating and all of the festivities. But this particular year, I'm realizing that a lot of that is fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantasy. And so what we do is we try to change our behavior to make the fantasy perfect.
Exactly.
And so a lot of people at this time of year are not in a fantasy. They're in hell in their thinking and their emotions because of memories or because of the way their life is right now. It's not all that perfect. They may not have Christmas trees and lights. They may not have family. So it's not a happy time for everybody. But we get caught up in the fantasy. And this is the first year I've noticed I'm not caught up in the fantasy. It doesn't mean I won't decorate. It doesn't mean I won't celebrate. But I'm not caught up in it as a fantasy. So if it doesn't pan out just right, it won't make me upset.
Exactly. And that was the journey that I wanted everybody to understand, starting this new series of releasing love in the air. That's why I said it needs to go beyond what we experiencing, now. Like I said, there are certain expectations that we are looking for during certain times of the year, where this is something that we have the power to create an atmosphere, an environment where love is continual. All
now,
right.
I have to give my husband kudos and credit for this. I don't care how upset we get with one another. We'll find our way back to communicating somehow. Sometimes it takes a little bit. But when we find our way back to that place of communicating, he'll say, I appreciate you. Or he'll say something that lets me know how he really feels about me. And that smooths everything over as well. He's better at that than I am. I'm a shower. He's the talker. So he'll say it more than he'll show it. I'll show it more than I'll say it. And so it works out for us. The dynamic works out for us.
She'll be riding in the car talking to him. I won't say nothing.
Right. He likes the silent treatment.
I'll go silent and won't say nothing. I just sit there and look at her.
That's true.
She'll be talking to me. Why you look at me like that? I don't say nothing. Stillness speaks. I just and then too, I find out how to not even let stillness talk.
Yeah. But some of us like to hold on to grudges. It feels good. It's like a punishment. I'm gonna punish the other person. So that there are a lot of ways that people.
And she know I can go for days if I want to. Don't ever say that to her.
He can.
Like she ain't in the house.
So, but I've gotten used to that. So
you act like that for 30 years. Somebody asks you how you only been married, say 30.
So I've gotten used to that. So I don't try to make him talk. I just let it be. But anyway, Linda says that she said, I wonder if the connection between two people can be much like the connection between identical twins. It's beyond the physical. Yeah, and that's yes, I believe that too, Linda.
Not born physically twins, you can still be around each other in the things of deja vu. The thinking. You'd be surprised if you stay long enough. You'll get scared to leave because you ain't got nowhere to go. But anyway.
Yeah, and not only that, sweetheart, we come back to the point. A lot of times, love isn't so much like you said, an ooey gooey feeling.
We own the same credit card.
But we come back to the realization that we're each other's best friend.
Exactly.
This is the best friend I've got, and I'm the best friend he's got.
Sometimes you don't think so,
right? But when you come back to that realization, that's when you say, okay, this that we really having a little
and then you get to the place where
it's really important because we're the best friends we've got.
You get to the point where you say, well, forget it, I'll do it myself.
and even in Linda's statement there, that's also a good example of oneness as well. When we talk about twins and how they have a certain connection that goes beyond the physical, that is very mysterious in some cases, and so forth. And so again, that's a great example of oneness.
Yeah, we've got a young lady in our church, Christina. She was an identical twin. Her brother was her twin, and when he passed, she felt like part of her went in the ground. She just didn't know how to function because the connection was so strong. But at the same time, on a comical note, can you imagine two Siamese twins and they can't get along? Lord have mercy. They'll fight like this. They'll fight like that.
Yeah, and then there's somebody will say, you kissed my butt, or you kissed mine. they can't get back there to kissing.
Can't kick each
that is living in hell.
If I kick your butt, I'd be kicking my own butt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Then one of them say, kiss my butt till I get tired. But I'm tired.
But that's a great metaphor there, though. That's a great one.
But that but it doesn't break the connection. It doesn't break the connection. The disagreement doesn't break the connection. And I wish that people would realize just because they have a disagreement doesn't mean that the relationship is severed.
And I'm glad you said that because see, we're not really talking about just in the area of marriage. This covers relationships, period. And so I always tell people one of the way I see forgiveness is when you're able to let go of what the person has done to you, whether damage or injuries whatsoever, and you don't hold it against them to the point that the relationship is restored.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so and the reason why is because there's been so much teaching and preaching within religious circles. I don't even want to say the church, religious circles, where we have taught people oftentimes, and we would like to use the situation in Genesis where God told Abraham to leave from his country and from his family, from his kindred, and go to a place that I would show you. They missed the whole concept. We would use that, and we would have people pretty much tell them that they need to leave from their family. They need to cut some people off because this is your new season and so forth.
And that's not necessary.
And that's not the spirit of love. It's not necessary at all.
And a lot of them, and you've said it, I'm just going to say it a little differently. A lot of them, because they feel like God is moving them on to something different, they will sever the relationships that have been there as foundations for them and think that they have to cut that off in order to go ahead and go forward. And it's not necessary at all. Even if there is not 100% agreement between you and that one that you've been with before, there is no need for the relationship to die. I've seen that happen so many times where people will cut off a relationship just because they feel like God is leading them in another direction.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's really sad. That part is really sad.
Let me tell you something that was revealed to me with strong emotional crime. We were sitting there watching television yesterday, and we were looking at Carlton, I believe it was, something about him. And The Lord revealed to me
when he was with Miss Coolman. When he
Miss
was,
Catherine
yes,
Coolidge.
he was when he was very young.
I remember seeing that 40 years ago where
Mhm.
he was really close to her. He was very young.
Mhm.
And while I was sitting there watching, I was taken back to my childhood and I saw the lady that raised me. Uh, I was given to them.
Your aunt.
My aunt and uncle, I was given to them because of very personal things, a relationship, long story. It's all it is, a story. And the Lord revealed to me why he gave me to her. And he revealed why he gave me to somebody that had everything wrong with them.
Mhm.
He put me in her arms or the arms of a lady that I knew that not based on right and wrong. I knew her in detail, but I knew some also things that she would do that was not present pleasant in him in the marriage and him both. But everything was wrong with him. And the Lord said, I put you with them so you could experience what it's like to love somebody that was never right in their life. That thing touched me. That broke my heart, broke my spirit. And he said he wanted me to experience the love that I had for her. When I went to the funeral, you didn't go. I wanted you to go, but you didn't go. Something happened.
I did go.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
At Frank Merle's funeral home?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't remember. I don't know why. But anyway, when I walked up to the casket,
I didn't go to your uncle's.
I thought it was my aunt.
No, it was your uncle.
I walked up to the casket, and with my dad, my knees buckled. I didn't know, Bishop. I didn't know the love that God is. When it said God's love covers a multitude of sin.
That's the scripture, 1 Peter 4:8. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you know what, when God inside of every man and woman gets ready to reveal himself, the church has been taught that God come. No, he don't. Because the book said he is present everywhere. I mean, the way it's described, omnipotent, omnipresent. God, if God is in and everywhere, where in the ham sandwich did we get the idea that God wasn't in us until we got saved? Then he came in us. Well, what you gonna do with that part? Now watch this. What you gonna do with that part where it said, "If I make my bed in hell, he's there." So if God got a motel, a bed in hell, and he sleeps in it, how can he not be in everybody in the earth, even Donald Trump, as an eternal spirit?
Mm-hmm.
If that and I say, well, what is the receiving of the Holy Ghost? The receiving of the Holy Ghost is that eternal self. Well, what you gonna do with the old things pass away and all things become new? That was put in there for a clause, because when Claus turned into Santa Claus, Santa Claus gives presents to the good and the bad and
Mm-hmm.
the ugly. So that means the love of God is not something that come and go, and God's Holy Ghost don't come and go. That was a clause that was put in there on Pentecost that God came. But in the meantime, if God ain't come yet and he's not there yet, what you gonna do with what's there already that ain't never left?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, you
Exactly.
know what I'm talking about. Now,
Yep.
God is in the stinking pig pen. It says the pool of Bethesda wasn't a sweet smell.
It sure wasn't. No.
Word that and all the dung was around, and God don't smell anything that stink, but that pretends like it is too good. And you know what? I got to back off of that too, because that don't seem to be too good to somebody and hate, he's there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've got a scripture I want to read. Can I?
No.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is in Matthew 5:43 through 48. I'm going to read the entire thing because I think it bears it actually validates what we're saying. And it says here, Jesus was speaking, this is in red letters. He said, "You've heard that it has been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy." That's
Mhm.
what the law says. We talked about the law, the living by the law or living by love. Remember, we talked about that a few weeks ago, Pastor
Yep,
Norman.
I talked about that again last night.
The law says, love your neighbor and hate your enemies. But then I love when Jesus says, but I say. He said, I say unto you, love your enemies and bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. And then he says in the 45th verse that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. This is all about showing your God nature. Okay, for he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. So God's love has no bias.
Exactly.
He doesn't look at one and say, I can let the sun come on this one because this is what I love. They've been good. They've obeyed me. They've accepted Jesus Christ, and I'll let them have it, and I won't let these have it because that's not how God's love works. And then he says this, for if you love them which loves you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? In other words, he said, everybody does that. They love the people that's loving to them. They don't love the people that don't love them. And he said, but if you love them which love you, what reward have you? That's not good enough. He said, if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the publicans so? He said, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And what he's talking about is perfect in love.
Yes.
Perfect in love. Let your God nature live through you. And that's what a lot of us, we've fallen short on that. It's easy to love somebody that's doing everything you like.
Exactly. And see, that is the thing concerning release 11, and I'm glad you read that, because even and I want to read this out of Ephesians chapter 5 verse 1 and 2 out of the Amplified, because you mentioned something about in Matthew, how you talking about we supposed to follow our Father. So it said, therefore become imitators of God, copy him and follow his example. As well-beloved children, imitate their father and walk continually in love. That is, value one another, practice empathy and compassion, unselfishly seeking the best for others, just as Christ also loved you and gave himself up for us, and offering a sacrifice to God.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about love.
And before you say that, we're going to end in just a few minutes. He's got a 2:00 appointment for his follow-up from his back surgery, so we'll have to skip out. But go ahead, honey. I just want to say that.
I remember way back when I was a baby, my aunt heard me crying in the bed. I was a little baby. I remember it all the way back. I remember the diapers and everything. I do. I really do.
Wow.
And I remember being a toddler.
Yeah, but you always been little. You always been
I didn't grow up this way, but I went out that way.
Well, that ain't gonna work. You ain't gonna work that on me. And I was laying in the bed crying. She woke up. She laid me on the bed. I wasn't much longer than that.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. And she cussed me.
She did.
She said, Clifton, you done it in your britches. Damn it, like that, you know. And I was laying there crying, and I was a baby, and she changed my diaper. I remember her changing diaper on me. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and the bed was wet, and she would wake up and be so mad. But that love was still there.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They used to tell that the word got around in the neighborhood. It was some of the people that they visit that if something was to happen to me, she would turn over in her grave. You know, you heard that was saying.
Oh,
Know?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told her something. I said, well, by the time I get grown, you probably gonna kick all the dirt off the grave. I mean, now, but this love that must be revealed by revelation.
Exactly.
It is not something you can teach and preach and talk about and try to practice and see it. It has to be a quickening from the quick and immortal identity. It has to be an occasion to move what's already in you at such a time that mystery of God sees fit to reveal his son in you as you.
Exactly.
That God nature, that love.
Well, look, we're going to stop here
nature,
because we're going to have to get ready. Now, if you want to continue this talk, Brother Norman, you can come on back on the
No, I'm not going to continue this talk without you guys. I have no one to bounce back questions to.
Well, let me put up this.
Well,
Love is the collapse of the sense of separation. Love is a desire to remove the gap. Love is the desire to be one and not two. Love can never be demanding, but instead sets one free. Love has no self-interest and is never concerned with winning. That shuts down all the arguments right there.
Yes.
Winning is not in the vocabulary of love. Love has no reason to love. It just is. Love desires nothing from the other. Needing to be right is not the language of love. Love holds no position to argue, and love cannot be threatened. So, hey, that right there, like you said, is not an ooey gooey feeling.
It's not.
It is life in excellence. It is the perfection that the scriptures are talking about when he says, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. He's talking about being perfect and walking in that love nature.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we got to take the running off.
Oh, no. Don't say it like that.
Well, you know what? Maybe you got to take off.
The running off. Oh.
You are a nut.
Well, in other words, we're gonna have
your nutty self. I love you.
So, if I interpret that means you're gonna have diarrhea of the legs.
Now,
right?
we're gonna take the running off, and we will see you guys, Mr. Deborah Lee. I think it's my time tomorrow to come and see you. But everything, Miss Brandy, we're gonna make a turnaround here, Dion Moore. We always look forward.
Deb, we recognize you're here, sweetie. Dee Dee, we recognize you. Brand, we get ready to go. He's got an appointment at 2, sweetie pie. So
Linda Landon said she have memoirs from her babyhood too.
Yeah, Linda remembers all your stories.
I have one as well, but I'm not going to share it.
Well, we'll come back on this thing on.
It's very comical.
Yeah, we'll be back Sunday. We'll be back Sunday.
And we'll talk about some more of this, okay?
And we're so glad you guys tuned in today. Thank you for a very short conversation, but it was a good one.
Miss Deb, I'm gonna bring my hot iron with me, so you can work on my hair, my beard.
Oh my Lord!
But Mr. Norman and Miss Gwen and your mama.
Tell your mama we've been praying for her. Maybe that's why she's feeling better.
Yep, I sure will. I will let her
Tell
know.
your mama I've been waiting for my wife to eat up an apple pie, but she ain't done it yet.
And who's been talking about pie?
What? Apple pie.
Apple pie. I've got a frozen apple pie
She ain't doing
in the freezer. I'm gonna pull it out.
She ain't doing
But we're supposed to be cutting back sugar, remember?
I'm gonna cut that pie. Hey, I'm gonna cut, all right. I'm gonna cut that pie.
You cutting?
I'm gonna cut somebody.
And
Just cut
he's
the
not
cut.
going to be able to eat it without ice cream. So that's
I don't want
you
no
know,
ice cream with it.
You don't.
I don't
You
have
just want
to.
the pie.
Yeah, it's just pie. I don't get no ice cream.
Well, I'm a tease you, Dad. Soon as I get off this broadcast with you, I'm gonna cut me a slice of lemon pound cake.
Slap the taste at you, my boy. Allah.
I still want to taste that cheesecake you was telling me about.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get that to y'all. I'm gonna definitely get that to y'all.
I'm gonna bite that cake so you won't. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Anyway, we love you guys. We gotta run. We gotta run.
You
See you
all.
later.
We're gonna take the running off, as he says.
Ooh.
That's what he said. That's what
Yeah.
you said.
All right, see y'all later.